Good morning, sir. Now that
Good
we got
morning,
that little
Jeff.
communication problem kind of took down, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Beautiful morning here in Southern California.
Well, I've got to go ahead and do a follow up on that. Congratulations on the Bill France Award of Excellence. For those who maybe do not understand the meaning of that award, let me quantify it by saying, to me, NASCAR and the NASCAR world, they have knighted you as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's just like being, you're now Sir David Wilson when it comes to our world because you have done so much for the industry as a whole, but most notably in our world of NASCAR, you have done so many wonderful things, David, and you have been such a gentleman. Um, and I don't know, I can't say enough really positive things about you. We're going to be sad to see you, throttling back and stepping away. And we know that you need to pass the torch on, but you've done an outstanding job, and I think that award. I mean, to me, the pictures I saw was not there, but I saw the pictures afterwards. I think you were a little bit surprised, weren't you? And I think that has it really sunk in what they have bestowed upon you?
Well, first of all, thank you, Jeff, for the kind words. I don't think it honestly has sunk in because I'm still trying to wrap my head around the significance of it. And I can rest assure you in the audience that those there are awards that are presented live on television that are in fact surprises. Because I was joking earlier in that evening that, well, I might as well have a cold drink or two, because I know I'm not getting up on stage because we weren't collecting any hardware that night. But somehow I ended up sitting right next to Steve Phelps, and right behind me was Mike Helton,
Mm.
and when I saw cameras started camping out, I was like, oh boy, what can this be? And sure enough, I still had this out of body experience as Jim France was talking about it and ultimately introduced me. But I I was stunned. I really didn't have words to truly express how special it was and how much it means to me. But you know, I tend to come from a very humble place, and the only way that I can wrap my head around it is by looking at it as a recognition, not just of me, but the team that I helped to build and brought into the sport. And yeah, and so that for me, like I can be super proud of that. But but deep down inside, make no mistake, this is just such a wonderful, generous honor, and it kind of comes back full circle, Jeff, because a lot of people these days are asking me about my tenure, my legacy, and one, I don't think you define your own legacy. I think it's defined for you. But if I had to pick, kind of one of the things that I'm most proud of, it was being a part of the team that brought this company into the sport of NASCAR. Because Jeff, you were around back then, and you well remember that not everybody, fans certainly are polarized, but even inside our own industry, I think it was a bit polarizing as to whether or not Toyota belonged. And so having a hand in building, it was one of the biggest building business cases that I've ever put together. Sold it all the way back to Japan because we all knew just how significant this was going to be culturally for our company. And if not done the right way, it could actually do more damage than good. And so fast forward, some 20 plus years later, I'd like to believe that today, while you still have, again, you have Ford fans, you have Chevy fans, you have Toyota fans, I'd like to believe that today, whether whomever you root for, you do believe that our sport, the sport of NASCAR, is better for having Toyota a part of it. And for me, that goes straight to my heart, and that is again something that I will take with me.
Well said. And just to add a little bit more to my perspective of the prestige of the award, this is not something that's given out every year. I mean, this right here is something that NASCAR takes very serious, because that they consider the fact that Bill France, the man who started NASCAR, um, he had a way about him, and a way that he wanted this organization to be perceived, I think, throughout all of other racing um, competitors, you might say. And I think the family has done an outstanding job of naming the award correctly and giving it out when it was justified. And there again, going back to what you're saying, and from the competitor side of it, yes, I was on the other side of the fence. I was the enemy, and you were trying to get in. And yeah, there were a lot of things that came out of that. But to your point, and I will echo your point, because yes, our industry is better because Toyota is in it, and it's in it for the right reasons. And that's one thing that I respect about you, is everybody wanted to get a piece of the pie. Okay, especially when Dodge bailed out and some people were looking for a place to call home. You guys came in with a game plan. You said, "Hey, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're not going to grow too fast. We're not going to keep. We're not going to expand just because we can. We're going to do everything." You know, you came in with a battle plan, you might say, to go up against the competition of Chevrolet and Ford. You executed it well. You have definitely proved that you belong in NASCAR. And I think, and it's this is, I want to finish this comment. You're right, 100%, sir. You did it the right way. I am so happy to have known you. I have so happy to have competed against you and your company. But more importantly, right now, to know that it's going to be left in good hands, and that you have laid the foundation for the future. And I think that's what's some more I want to get into after I shut up here a second, because I want to hear what you got to say about that. But again, from my heart to yours, I really, really am happy for you.
That means world to me. It means world to me, Jeff. And yeah, appreciate you, kind of underscoring, some of those highlights and how we did it. But
Mhm.
just looking back in that day, we and I've shared a little bit with this as I've reflected on our career, but we did well before we turned a wheel in anger on the racetrack. We wanted to really understand and learn about the sport, and make sure again that we did it the right way, make sure that we earned our way in. And I had a lovely visit with a good friend, Wayne Otten, who is also calling it a day. And I gave him a big hug, because Wayne is one of those guys. Back in those days, we most fans probably don't realize it, but we didn't come in through the truck series. We actually came in through a regional touring series that doesn't exist anymore, but it's called the Goody Stash series. And the Huffman family, I got to see Robert and some of his family last week in Charlotte. And yeah, it's people like Wayne Otten who kind of put their arm around us and helped guide us and helped minimize the mistakes that we might make. But it really was, having a respect for the fans and listening to some of their concerns. One of the widely held beliefs was that, a company like Toyota was just going to come in here with briefcases full of money, and we'd buy our way in, and we'd win, and then we'd leave. And part of one of the biggest challenges I had in trying to articulate what that means to our top management is that the power of the sport and the power of the fan base, because at the time when we came in, I call it, I think it was the bubble of NASCAR around 2006, 2005, 2006, where Fortune 500 companies, I mean, everyone had to be part of the sport. And 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 there was, the fan base was roughly one third of the population. And so if you did do it the right way, it could really work against you. But we understood that this was a driver centric sport. Like, the drivers were the stars. Um, Now, over the years, working with NASCAR and our colleagues from Ford and Chevrolet, Dodge back in the day, we've done a lot to help promote, each of us, and promote the rivalries between the OEMs like it was back in the day. But no mistake, the drivers, carried the most influence, and that's a big reason why we were, and still, I'd like to believe, are pretty selective about who are our ambassadors, who are the drivers, the team owners that will carry the Toyota, the TRD badge on their fire suit, because we know how influential they are. And it was largely guys like, Michael Waltrip, back in the day, who who said to his fans that these guys are okay, right? And just got them to give us a chance. And then, of course, when we came in, we struggled. We got our butts kicked. Back, there were no charters back then, Jeff. You remember?
Oh yeah.
We our first Cup race in 2007. We didn't know if we were going to run the race, because we had to qualify our way in, and there was drama that weekend because of some shenanigans that were going on in one of the Toyotas. But um but but by and large, it humanized us by us getting our butts kicked, right? And the president of Toyota US, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Funo, he understood the social aspect of it so well that when we would come home, and after a weekend getting our asses kicked, he was like, "Good job," right? Because he had he fashioned on his own this Rocky Balboa, mentality. Like, the early rounds, just, it's okay. You're gonna get beat up a little bit, but
Yeah.
just keep fighting through it, and our day will come when it's okay to win. And as if we did any, as if we didn't try the most we could from day one, which of course we did. It's a tough sport. It is a tough sport, and you do have to earn your way. But I have so many, fond memories of the teams that took a chance on us,
Right.
and so much respect, and love for guys like Coach Gibbs and his family, who had already won 3 championships, with their affiliation with General Motors and Chevrolet and Pontiac. And on paper, it absolutely made no sense for what they did, but so many people, just contributed to helping us along the way. And in the end, as I look to step back, what I will miss most of all are the people, and that will that will keep me coming back to the track on occasion, just to see these wonderful people and friends that I've made along the way.
Just to make sure we don't get away from that thought process. Address the friendship that the driver development program that you guys initiated, and really, not to say it wasn't going on, but I think Toyota did it in a different way than the other manufacturers. And I think the producing the results have turned out to be, head turning. No, least of all, when you think about, Kyle Busch's and the Christopher Bells of the world that have been around now and helped through Toyota. Any of that moments there, as far as in the last, 20 years of bringing people into the sport and getting them up through the ranks, have they stand out to you, or memories stand out to you?
Well, that I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to share that story with you, Jeff, because I think it was an interesting origin story. And I love origin stories because they always tell you something that you may not know. But our origin story, when it came to driver development, and the there was bits and pieces of it, um, but principally the paradigm was the team owners. The team owners are ultimately responsible for driving, for driving their driver development, and that's why a lot of them had, Xfinity teams, or may have had truck teams to help with that. And in fact, my predecessor, you may remember Lee White.
Mhm.
Um,
I do.
Lee, who was an old school racer, right? And Lee White, anytime we mentioned that, he would say, "Nope, manufacturers have no role in driver development. Drivers will either break your heart or they'll die and break your heart. That leave that to the teams. Let's focus. And we don't own racing teams. That's the other side, right? So we kind of came from that place. Now, Lee White retired. I stepped on board, and here's a great factoid, and that is the gentleman that will succeed me, and in 14 days from today, will take over the mantle as president of Toyota Racing Development. A young man by the name of Tyler Gibbs. Tyler and I have had the pleasure of working together for nearly 30 years, some 28 years. And it was Tyler Gibbs and a couple of his lieutenants, um, Jack Irving, Trent Rodriguez, who had been hanging out, at places like the Chili Bowl, and looking at some of the things that we were doing, because we were involved in grassroots racing back in the mid '90s. We worked with Steve Lewis on, he ran a Toyota midget back in the day, and we saw this really special talent, like on dirt. And Tyler came up to me one day, and he laid out a proposal of of taking a step towards driver development, and it was very, very well constructed. It wasn't about Toyota writing a big check. It was about building a partnership of sponsors like Safelite, like Gear Wrench, like Exxon Mobil, like Mobile One, JBL, who, for not a whole lot of money, we pool those resources and we start investing in some of these young men and women that we're watching running on dirt or in late models. And long story short is we are fully vested now. We have a number of team that do everything from scout every weekend and virtually every dirt track in, Middle America you can think of, to nutritionists, psychologists, trainers, sports psychologists. We have relationships with the Texas Rangers and a couple of other stick and ball sporting organizations because we wanted to understand like what is best in class. How do other sporting enterprises build resources and tools to make their athletes better? Because if there's one thing that we've learned, Jeff, across this endeavor, is it's not teaching a batter to hit a baseball. It's not teaching a race car driver how to drive a race car. It's it's working on those 6 inches between their ears and giving them um, the tools they need to handle pressure, giving them the physiological tools they need to handle intense heat, um, and along the way helping them develop their own social skills. Because of again, a lot of young up and coming drivers, what is the first thing they do? They drop out of school and they leave that that environment where they socialize with other kids of their own age. Well, we run a school now, and guess what? We don't have drivers train alone. We always are partnering them up, and they're in there shooting hoops, they're throwing baseballs, things that a lot of them never even had the chance to do. So to get to the competition side of it, because yeah, at the root of it was we wanted to grow our own, and we understood the pitfalls. First one, we don't own racing teams. That's the biggest one. And that's why, again, organizations like Kyle Busch Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing and their Xfinity team, the Venturini family, um, Bill McAnally, um, you know, the key is to align yourself with organizations who share your vision and have the right mentality to coach up these young drivers. Because again, you can't just throw a young talented driver into a race car. You have to it's coaching and treating everyone with respect, because the other challenge in developing athletes is each one of them needs different things. Each one of them is going to grow up and excel at their own pace. Um, there are a few unicorns like Kyle Larson, like Christopher Bell, like put them in anything and they kind of find their way. And of course, Christopher would be what we would call our star alumnus. He's the guy that really proved our business case. Um, and here's the other thing I say, because I get, on occasion some hate, which I don't understand, but well, what about William Byron? What about Alex Bowman? What about Austin Hill? What about Jesse Love? Here's what I'll say. Every one of those kids we spent some time with, every one of those kids know who we are and know the type of people we are. When I walk down pit lane at any given race, I can bump fists with about 30 out of 36 drivers on that field, because somewhere along the way they touched our company. And racing is a small sport. You never know when opportunities leave somewhere. I'll venture a bet that any one of those kids, given the opportunity to come back and drive a Toyota, would come back, because of that relationship and the respect that we showed them at a very early age. So while the endeavor was focused on, kind of selfish, going fast for Toyota, it's turned into as much of an altruistic, it's part of the way that we give back to our sport. And I love that, Jeff. I don't, yeah, some days we're racing against we were racing against one of our alum, William Byron, in the championship finale this past His past 2 weeks ago in Phoenix. That's okay. He's still a good kid. I love his family, and I'm proud that he drove a Toyota one day.
Well, we started this off by saying the reason why NASCAR recognized you with the Bill France Award of Excellence. For those of you who had the pleasure of listening to what I've just done, you understand why this man has gotten this award. Mr. Wilson, the sport is better because we've had you in it. We look forward to seeing you around the racetrack. And thank you so much for being a part of our Race Industry Week and sharing your story. And once again, we're going to miss you on a weekend basis, but I know, like you said, we'll see you on pit road somewhere along the way. Thank you very much for joining us.
Jeff, thank you again for visiting with me. I've loved this tradition. I'd ask you to take care of Tyler next year when he's on. He's actually on a plane to Japan right now, or he was actually going to join me, but I'm sure you guys will catch him next year. And again, I appreciate just the consideration and respect that you've shown me and your team there at Racer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
You have a lot to be proud of, David.
Thank you, Judy Francois. Again, thanks for inviting me so many years ago. I love the tradition, and say hello to my friends. I'm assuming Mark Rushbrook and Jim Campbell will carry their OEM flags.
Yes.
All right.
Mark is next. So thank you, David. Thank you very much.
Give my best. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
absolutely.
EPARTRADE is a digital platform that we've created basically to make life easier in the business community of auto racing.
EPARTRADE, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier.
When you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information, and then from there it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
EPARTRADE really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
Looking for a quick fix of motorsports news? The Speed Sport Daily is what you need. It's a free racing newsletter delivered directly to your email every day. We'll cover the winners and the losers and tell you who's making news off the track. It's NASCAR, NHRA, World of Outlaw, IndyCar, and so much more. Go to speedsport.com today and get signed up for America's free racing newsletter and get your daily motorsports fix. The Speed Sport Daily.
Land speed record holder George Poteet's Speed Demon rocketed 481 miles per hour at the Bonneville Salt Flats. You don't go that fast without ARP fasteners.
There is no way that we could go the speed that we've gone, the number of times we've gone, with a lesser quality bolt than ARP supplies to us, and we absolutely wouldn't be where we were today if it weren't for ARP.
When failure is not an option, it's ARP-bolts.com.
We're Performance Plus Global Logistics. Our team of dedicated performance industry and logistics experts get valuable cars and components to the track on time in top condition. We provide expedited logistics solutions for the performance industry using direct routes instead of deferred options, and communicate all necessary information to the appropriate resources to meet regulations and ensure a smooth transit and secure delivery, both domestically and internationally. And we exceed customer expectations by providing best-in-class service with an efficient and cost-effective system in place. Contact us today to book your next shipment.
Scott Lewis & Associates, the sales, marketing, and branding specialist for the automotive performance industry since 1988. We get our manufacturers on track by opening an extensive distribution network, providing product training to sales staff, creating fully integrated sales and marketing strategies, building successful industry partnerships, attending trade shows, events, and races, offering first-class support to customers. SLAI delivers solutions that win you sales. To get in touch with an SLAI representative, call 516-378-6100. Go to scottlewisinc.com or email info@scottlewisinc.com.
With roots in the Midwest that date back well before the Model T, Fifth Third Bank has a long history of serving the needs of automotive companies. While much has changed over the years, our passion for helping businesses put cars on the road and on the track has not. Today, we are more committed than ever as a member of SEMA, a founding member of PRI, and a sponsor of multiple race teams across several racing series.
For over a decade, Fifth Third Bank has been a staunch supporter of our industry and a great partner for many companies in the motorsports field.
Our business has been growing extremely fast, and really we could not be where we are today without Fifth Third. They provided amazing strategic advice, the capital we need to support our phases of growth.
They are true partners for me now, and what they do with their involvement in motorsports is untouched in this community.
Where can we take your business? Fifth Third Bank.
You work as hard as your truck, and you have no time for downtime. That's why more truck owners trust Blue Def, America's #1 diesel exhaust fluid brand. Each batch is guaranteed pure, so you can avoid costly repairs caused by inferior DEF. Demand America's best for your truck. Blue Def and Blue Def Platinum. Put trust in your truck.
When it comes to pushing the limits of performance, the pros know there's no room for compromise. At Crower Cams, we don't just engineer camshafts and valve train components, we redefine what power means. Since 1955, Crower Cams has been the name trusted by racers, engine builders, and gearheads around the globe. Whether you're building a street machine, a dragster, or a track car, Crower Cams provides the muscle you need to dominate. And with Crower, victory is within your reach.
For over 25 years, Wisconsin-based C-Tech Manufacturing has been engineering and manufacturing the toughest, most accessible aluminum tool drawers, cabinets, carts, and tactical storage solutions for America's hardest working professionals. Whatever you need to store and however you need to store it, put your trust in C-Tech Manufacturing. We build it better. Visit our new website at ctechmanufacturing.com or give us a call at 715-355-8842.
If you're watching this video, you might be wondering, what is WPC? WPC is a surface treatment designed to reduce friction and increase the strength of metal parts. As much as it might seem like a coating, WPC is actually a surface treatment. Think of it like shot painting, but the media is much finer, like talc. So what you're left with is a super hard, smooth surface that actually has some proprietary dry lubricants embedded within it. For more information, visit WPCtreatment.com.